Hello, beautiful people. We're back here again. I'm just gonna check that this we are live and we are good. So let's go live. Let's check it out. Alright, it looks good. How is everyone doing? Let's give it a like. Alright. Wonderful, beautiful, awesome people. How's everyone doing today? I'm back and I'm back. Actually, I've been meaning to stream since like morning, but I kept getting sidetracked by bunch of other stuff. But we're back now. Better believe, best believe, we are back. I'm excited because we about to do some magic. So real quick, I'm just gonna. There are three things on my mind now. I'd like to implement like a partial builder for every struct, basically every model, like every node, every edge, and every object. Um, then I already have like I have an idea on how to implement. If you've ever used TypeScript, there are these utilities, and especially peek and peek and will exclude. Sort of exclude is for string unit. It's for um, string union or string literal union or whatever. But anyway, we've got peek and we've got omit here. So I'm gonna implement those two things also. And let me tell you where those could be necessary when you're doing an update. Typically, when you're doing an update in your database, usually sometimes you want to do partial update of a struct, meaning you might want to update just the name or screen field. So I'm trying to support that case. Actually, we do support that already, but I'm trying to make that even better. So there are two different approaches to do that. I have an existing approach, which if we go actually to the documentation here, and first, let me see. Let me just make sure on my phone that we're good. We're good. Um, okay. It looks like it. Anyway, so the first approach, there's this approach called object partial. Let's check. Okay, so we've got object and object partial, but you typically would use this with the set operation, right? But how this differs a little bit is that this actually allows you, as you can see, to average strength field, we are assigning an entire block. So whatever the block returns. So this is a lot more powerful in the sense that it checks all your field types and make sure that they are there to the like weapon stats that average strength is like let's say an unsigned bit an unsigned integer of like 32 bits, right? And make sure that it's like U34 or if it's string or whatever it is. But at the same time, for every field, you should be able to assign a field to it, a parameter or a block. At least those three I can recall now. So the difference between object and object partial is that, well, for object, you have to specify all the fields, otherwise it's going to throw a compile time error. Object partial allows you to do like, well, as the name says, partial updates. All well and good, right? But if we actually go to SurrealDB, the first engine I'm supporting, I plan to support other engines in the future. If you go to the documentation, and just like every other database engine, right, you might be able to do something like a merge operation, right? So in a kind of like merge operation or even something else, you might want to do a partial update. So let's say you've got this struct called user, you might want to update just name and location. And in that case, you wouldn't want to specify other fields. And when you don't specify other fields, ideally you wouldn't want the serialized format of the struct to include those fields, because if it does include those fields, then they're going to override the values in the database as none, because none is a value, which basically means absence of value. But we actually don't want none, but we want them skipped, so that when the database query resolution layer does the resolution, it's able to do the right thing. In the case of merging, it just merges the new fields recursively, right? And in the case of there are other operations, there is merge, there is not the primary one, which is just, well, the content. You are basically, you can think of this as a put operation. Then there are like patch operation, in which case you're just trying to update some fields. Then there are merge operations, right? So in addition to object and object partial macros, which I introduced and I just showed you guys now, I'm looking to implement something that I already have, but now I'm making it a lot more robust and ergonomic and intuitive and just better to use. And I'm calling that concept object partial. So let me show you what this looks like in practice. Let's zoom in a little bit. So if you've got a struct called user, right, you should be able to have something called like a object partial. So the partial variation of that, which skips the field if it's none. And what that means essentially, let me check, let me see what's going on live. Let me see if there's anyone, just so I can connect and respond to you guys. All right. So basically, as I was saying, it skips those fields, right? So we've got a partial variation of every struct case. Nice. And this is what we're about to implement. And if you see how you can use this, you see some nice stuff. You basically can say, let's say user 3, we can call this something else, but let's call this user 3 for now. And you just call this partial builder, and you can build all the fields. And let's check this out. As you can see, when we skip name isn't included here. If we go to the other side, we go from ID to screen name, which means name is excluded. Let's try to comment that out, and let's see. As you can see now, name is included here. Let's say name is now included here. Let's move that, let's change that to my beautiful name, just so you can see. As you can see, name is included. We can exclude as much field as we want. So the benefit of this is that now we're able to do partial updates, right? And this is what I'm looking to support. I actually do support it already, but currently I'm calling it none. So if we go like user struct, for every struct you would have something called non-null updater, and that's just a gruesome, horrible name. And now I'm just calling it like partial whatever. So if we go user struct, it's gonna be user partial. You get the gist. I think that's a better descriptive name. So without wasting time, I think we could probably go ahead with the implementation. So let's go to the other side, and I'm just gonna clean this up now. Let's go to test, and we go to node. So if we go up a little bit, what we are trying to achieve here is, currently I'm calling this non-null updater, but now I will be calling it partial. So we're gonna have like two things. If we go to the other window, for let's say user struct, right, you're gonna have like the user partial variation, and you're also gonna have the user partial builder, which is gonna wrap it around, right? So we're just gonna implement the builder for it. So basically we need three things for, or two extra stuff. Apart from the basic structs, we also need a struct partial and a struct partial builder. So user partial and user partial builder. And as you can see, for example, here we've got user. And with user partial, you can just invoke this method which returns the builder. And the builder is just a wrapper struct around the user partial. And what this allows us to do is just form a builder, and the building just gives us the inner struct, right? To simplify it, of course, we could have used something like typed builder, or we could use also derived builder, but I think we already have all the ingredients to do what we need, and maybe that's an overkill. We can easily implement this ourselves. So what I'm gonna do is we are gonna have an extra struct name called, now I'm calling this non-null updater, but I think this should be called something like whatever the struct is, then partial. It's probably better. Then we've got the builder, and ideally this would actually, we would want the partial builder. Yeah, so what I'm calling non-null updater currently, I probably want to call it partial builder. Yep, probably better. Descriptive name, non-null updater struct name. I will, yep, non-null updater struct name. It's non-null updater. That's a very horrible name. So that is in the primary implementation, and this is for node model. So I'm currently having it in 2 places. I'm actually contemplating on having it on directly as an implementation on the struct itself, but in order to prevent collision, I'll just do this for now. So I'll call this partial builder. Yep. Let's check any other occurrence we have. No updater. Okay, nothing. So actually, what we want is, let's call this partial view object model of struct partial ident. We can call that, let's use format ident. Yeah, and then we have struct partial ident. Struct partial ident. What else? Struct partial builder idents. Okay, which is basically, thank you. Can basically take that what's up there also. So put that. Okay. Yep. So we got this partial and blah blah blah. I wonder, this probably implements display, right? I then should implement display. So let's say this the string. Yeah, it does. So let's just take that here. Paste that. Okay, that is good. I'm gonna do that. Okay, so that gives us the type. I mean, the ident. So now let's go to the implementation itself. We go to whatever. So I think that's there it is. Yep. This. What we want here actually instead would be something like so we want the partial, and then we want so I'll call this struct partial ident. Then we also we want the can you have a probably want to have the generics, but I'm wondering if you could actually have where clause with type. I don't think so. That would be weird if you could do something like oh yeah, it's a wrapper type anyways, so we should be able to yeah, it's a wrapper type. Should be able to do that. I see why not. Interesting. I think we could just do struct type generic with wrap. Yeah. Struct type generic then. Let me just confirm it actually. So what you want to do is drop to T okay. I wonder if we could do this at all. I mean, this is okay, okay, bring it on. So actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna need both. So this will have to come right out here, and you know, here we should actually be having struct. Yeah. So we've got the builder with the generics and what else? I think those are probably. Then we would have to make a builder for this essentially. So that would have to be on this. Nope, not exactly that. Let's see. Implement struct generics. We want to implement this now on the builder. Structs. Let's say something like this. Side and builder. And you know what? I should probably be using. Yep. So we can then take that type generics and the where class. Now we can build the builder, and the way we're gonna build the builder is we're gonna do the access modifier function, then it's gonna be field, let's see, field name, and we're gonna do this value, and for the value we're gonna have basically original field type, and that will return self distributor, and we'll do this. We basically take this, we can do something like that. Take the field name and then return self. I will need to do this for every serializable field. And except ID, I believe we don't want this partial updater for ID. So while I could have used the right builder or type builder, I think it's pretty easy to implement these, and because we have a very specific use case and tailored use, we don't need to have the overkill. So we need to build this for every field. What can we call this? We can call this partial let's go to field meta and derive attributes. Okay. So maybe I'm just gonna call this yeah, I currently have this non-null updater, which is kinda dumb. So this is what I'm doing for the field name. So what I'm gonna do is also include that, and rather than calling this non-updater, I'm gonna call it partial struct. Struct partial view. Then the next one should be struct partial method. Let's go here. I'm gonna call it struct partial method. So I probably want to collocate this, and what I'm calling non-null updater fields, I probably want to call it struct partial field. Struct partial fields. We then go to the implementation. Struct partial field. Do we have every method data to build out what we want? We'll find out. Can we get a field type here? We probably can. Yep. So it's out the table by default. I'll grab some water. Yep. So now we're gonna include the method implementation, and I'm contemplating on having it here. How are we using it? So we're doing insert non-null updater token. Okay, we could just have another method and call it insert partial field method implementation. So no, I'm not expecting that to do nothing. Okay, to do that. So essentially we can, let's just, okay, we've got that. Yes, but we can method would be, let's call it out, and yeah, so we need a field, we need a resolved field name. Actually the basic field name is fine here. We don't need a resolved one here. So let's see, we take something like this, and how to get a field name, let's check the field receiver for that, and field name could be, actually I don't need the normalized one, I could just do the the field, let's call this field ident, or original field ident. Let's check this. Yep, so we get a field identifier, it returns a result. Can we just do that? Good. Okay, that just returns a model attribute. Let's take that out. So we get the identifier, which is great, but we also need the type, and we need the original type. So that should be quite easy. We can do field type. Yep, basically we need the original type. Let's just original type. Now we've got that also, and so we can maybe bring this further a little bit, bring this back. Yep. Okay, so let's maybe move it a bit. So that does that. Right, I believe that's all we need. So we actually need to get this. I mean, we could we could do for the partial objects. I wonder, I think we actually want to use the type from there, because when we have a nested object, we also want a partial updater for that, not a full updater. So in that case, we would need this. I believe for field type, if it's option. Yep. I think we should just make everything optional. What I was doing here, we don't have to do it anymore. Like it's already optional, we make it option. It doesn't matter because you have nested type. So I'll just keep this simple, and this will be merely view type optional. I think it should just always be optional, right? Yeah, so you can take this, and also for these we can pretty much just take the whole thing, and yep, so we don't need this anymore, so we can remove that. Yep, that looks good. Tell you what, I think it's vanity to actually have this as a separate implementation, isn't it? Or if we just move it right in there. Not trying to be cool. Create non-null updater, metadata. So, and actually this non-null updater is now called partial builder. Yep, that's what we call that now. So if we invoke that, we want the field type to be that, except when we're actually dealing with objects, we don't want the basic type. We want what we essentially want is the partial builder for the object. So that's gonna be bit 3k. It's gonna be 3k. So what I can do is basically take the field field type and call that custom type. It could be custom type. So yep, let's see the type. Yeah, tell you what, I'm just gonna use a token stream here, or alternatively we can do create token stream wrapper. Let's call this you can call this field type or struct partial field type. Yeah, and if we scroll down a little bit here, then let's put struct partial field type. So partial restricted. The other still hold, I believe. We can just remove that. And if we just okay that, let's convert that into Okay. I mean, we could return and push that, or as a matter of fact, we can just leave it as is like this. We could take that method implementation and just do save. Yep. Yep. And return. Okay. Special method implementation. Or just method. Yep. How about we do disable that? So we get a type from out there, and we do that. Follow me to my bed. So actually this should probably be, oh, let's change that. This should be, that's an option. So probably that. Good. So we got a method. We need to call this. This is dot insert partial method. We need to include the type, so let's do view type optionalized view type. And we can do quotes. Yep, we can do that. Right. Oh, actually does take this. We're probably gonna do this instead. I can say optional or whatever. Naming things is hard, right? But for nested object, we actually want something a little bit different. Like I said, let's do just gonna do optionalized. I don't trust Copilot. Field type is what? Option nested object as object and partial builder, and then we do optionalized field type. Yeah, and yeah, we do the same thing. And this I probably want to make it better. Create struct partial metadata. Yep. So we have that, and so that gives us the method. So on the this should actually be on the partial builder. So instance partial struct partial builder fields method. Yep, something like that. This is actually it's possible because nice. Can do partial filter. Yeah. Partial filter. So and we don't need to implement this realize for it. We're actually not using it to disrealize anything. For hedge, it might be a little bit more involved because we've got the generics. We've got the generics, but it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter because let's think through the propagation of the generics. If we have the partial field, you've got generics for edges, in which case you're gonna have the origin and destination nodes. At least yeah, it's not a problem. Okay, so amount of data should be partial filter. Essentially. to the, yeah, that's maybe not, but this. Oh yeah. Struct partial ident. Let's go to notes. Struct partial ident. We want this to be consistent, so maybe I'll it as a method. Same as method. Partial ident. Struct idents. Oh, we can derive it from the struct idents. Yeah, that would make the most sense. So what we can do, we can create a method and call partial builder ident. Then we can also have partial. No. Partial intents and partial build ID. So we shouldn't need that under any circumstance. That's not valuable. That should be there. Wanna listen to a song? Guess what? This is what we do. They criticize our song. Try to make it better. Now it's our time. Partial idents. Good. So you can see. A little bit better. Yeah. So now we go to just okay. So let's go to copy this. This should be June. this is actually looking very generic, and it's starting to look like, I think this makes a good case for, yeah, complete, because it's pretty much the same, although we still need to add a little bit of some rules. But anyway, I'll just do the copy pasting at first and we can dry it up afterwards. Yep, let's add these there forever first. Let's do update let's go this partial builder. And this should be because we have that. To default of that. Should be put it on the schema getter. Okay, they have implement model. But maybe I could have it here as partial. Does object implement model SJ? How do we have this? There. Perhaps we should have that. We should also have that for edges. I don't know why we currently don't. And should we have in schema getter? Because then we would have to do it separately. We would have to repeat that. I don't think that is cool. And schema getter also doesn't feel like the right place to put that. That's not the schema. That is schema getter. Where else would make a little bit of sense to put that? At the model. Computer. I have it everywhere. It's actually might be a bit problematic because then we're just repeating ourselves. Having a schema getter also feels weird because that's not related to the schema. And yeah, having to go through whether it's object node to disambiguate it might be a little bit unergonomical because now you have to know, is this an object, is this a node, rather than just saying this. I might stick this into schema getter even though having it here is probably not ideal because it doesn't make sense to have it in multiple places. want to introduce another trait. That would be too much. It would be too much. Or what could I call this trait? I could actually do that. So I'm just thinking this could lead to too much of concepts. Let's call updater. Yeah, I could introduce a trait called updater. Update. Yeah, I'll do it just because I can. Yeah. Okay. Having the implementation scattered everywhere is a little bit sus. We can also actually implement it on the stuff itself, but I'm trying to avoid collision. So should we keep it on the node objects? Yeah, I just separate cut that. You can grab the all this code later, but for now. Let's edge while implementing edge. Let's just stick it here. think I remember what we're using it in model. Um, Can always restart anyway. It's not a problem. Yep, there's one more thing. From here. I would like to rename this file. One more thing, we don't want these for fields that are not serialized, right? So at least we don't want that for relate. Okay, this automatically takes care of that. It's not gonna be done for relate. We also don't want it for IDs. I believe we don't want that for IDs, but this may not yet take care of that. So these, so I've got want partial update for ID. And we don't want for relate. Marshall B codes as you got me. That's the way to go. As function, you know. I feel like that's the best way to write associated function in Rust. I had to do that. I couldn't help it. I mean, I could have written just associated function. Okay, I just write associated. Don't you think it's better descriptive? I feel like it's a lot easier to read. Why make it longer when we could just make it short enough? I need to find other places where I can optimize the variable names just that way. That just felt perfect. How's it going? It's good to have you back. It's good to have you here again. What have you been up to? Insert partial struct partial view type def meta. Yep, something like that. Okay, let's call this struct partial struct partial think nothing much, just hanging out. How's things with you? Oh, it's good. It's good. It's good that you're hanging out. It's Saturday night. I should also be hanging out. Yeah, it's been great. Thanks for asking. I appreciate that. As maybe you might have noticed, I slowed down a little bit in February. Yeah, I've been traveling the last 6 months, especially the last 3 months. I've been traveling quite a bit. Yeah. So that's kind of like slowed me down. But now I'm trying to gain back my momentum because this is quite overdue. And actually, what I'm implementing now, the idea just came to me this morning, but I got sidetracked throughout the day, and I was like, once I get the time, I'll implement this. So I'm quite excited about this because I think this is going to improve the ergonomic of what I'm building. And I also have an idea. If you've worked with TypeScript before, uh, there's this utility function called peek. There is another one called omit. So basically, if you have your struct, and imagine you have a struct with a user struct, and you have the name and age, but let's say then you have status or whatever, and you want to create another struct out of that, but you don't want the name field or score, right? Or you just want to pick the name field and the score, or you want to exclude one of them, you want to omit one of them. So I have the idea for that. That also came to my mind this morning. I have two approaches. So I'll be using the trait-based approach, and also I'll be using the module-based approach. So I intended to implement what I'm implementing currently today and those other two stuff today, but it does seem like the time is running out, and I might have to continue that tomorrow. But that's the story of my life in a nutshell. I'm just trying to finish this ASAP so I can launch, because most of the things necessary, like the master works, but it doesn't support generics, and that's what this PR is doing, refactoring the derived macros, to make it more maintainable, because I believe that has been the most intricate part of the code base. So I'm trying to simplify that, make it more robust, add more integration and unit tests for it. And then I've been adding a few features. Probably should have added those in different PRs. But yeah, just trying to do all those things. Okay, my editor is loading. How has it been with your projects? The C, I believe you were working on some C project, C and Python. Let's see. Okay, partial. I took a couple weeks off, but I'm back working on it now. I'm getting closer to being done. That's awesome. But like you, I also think of features to add when I already have other things to finish. I know, right? Yeah, but I think it's important to just get it out and add those other features subsequently, kind of like iterate. Because there's this magic about having that stuff in the wild and having yourself or other people use it, then you can add to it. Yeah, but once I'm done with the pick and omit macros, which I'm planning to implement maybe tomorrow, I'm calling it done for V1 Alpha. I promise. I promise. Yeah. So have you found some time to delve into Rust at all? Let's see. Yes. Yep. So let's quit this. No, not yet. Still writing C, C++, and Python. And that's already a lot you're doing. It's a lot. Especially with C and C++. A lot of care should be taken when working with those. I I myself sometime at some point I'll try to work with C at least a little bit, just to play with some stuff. But I have a lot of projects I'm still looking to do in Rust, so I'm not sure when next I'm gonna get some time. By the way, are you in like San Diego or was it California? Sorry, my brain is messed up right now. Cause I'm still planning to come back to the US again. Uh, I was I was around in January, so I'm looking. Maybe we might run into each other someday. You never know. And my editor is taking too long to load. Okay, I might have to be a bit patient. Just check the node. Oh, there's one thing that I should also take care of. Deserialization. Like, I mean the serialization of the fields. Oh, Texas. I used to live in San Diego some years ago. Oh, I don't know how back then came to my head. I almost said Texas. I was Texas. I've been seeing a lot of people from Texas nowadays, and actually, my next plan when I come to US, I should be in Pittsburgh and Texas at least. I was meant to come to Texas in January, but I already had my flight booked elsewhere, so it was kind of like difficult um, to alter that. So let's see. We go to partial. So it will come here. There's one other stuff we need to take care of. The serialization, the serialized state of other fields. So the fact that this field, a field is named, I don't know, let's say favorite book, doesn't mean it's gonna be written the way, doesn't mean it's gonna be serialized the way it's written, right? So to just simplify that, what we're gonna do is get a resolved version of the field, which is basically the database field name. And I mean, we could just copy all the attributes from the original structs and place them on the partial updater struct and then the field, but that might introduce some complexities, because you might have some kind of like incompatibilities. So what I'm gonna do is, what I'm just and I think I should abstract this old stuff because it's just basically the same thing we're using in node, edge, and object. So I'll just, what I'm gonna do is do rename equals the DB field name. Let's see. Yep. So that's actually interesting because, yeah, we would have to, now I can see that it's falling apart. I think we might as well just, let's see how this is used. I think we might as well just take these and also include the attributes. So you go, yep. That's the items. Field type. So we're talking. Girl, I'm going crazy for you, for you. Now please know I love you. Girl, I'm going crazy for you, for you. I'm contemplating on putting the attribute right away, yeah. And I think maybe what we're gonna do, I'm gonna take that first. So that we can just do rename equals db field name. So it's just gonna take resolve that. Do we have the db field name? Yep. And yep, that is it. Oh, nope. It should be here. Yes, this I'm going to start my editor. This how it does. Loading. Actually, I'm not trying to load the entire workspace. Type considered. All right, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining. It's nice to hear from you again. I hope you have a wonderful night and have a good one. And hope to see you again soon. I'll be live tomorrow. Safe, brother. So I'm trying to expand node, but the macro is still generating. So let's see. Let's give it some time. Rust Analyzer is still loading and doing some work. Let's see what we get. But I'm actually very happy with this. I think we can do a little bit of tricking here and there. I'm quite happy with this because what this will allow you to do is you could have something like, you know, say you've got a field called user. I mean, you've got a struct called. Let's change this to human. Right. Let's change this to human. And let's change this to. So let's say you've got a struct called human, right? You can just use this partial builder and call the optional fields, and when you call this, like, it skips the other fields, so that can be a good thing. So the nice thing about this is you can have even very cursive stuff. Just disable that. You can have this. You can define as many as you want, and even it works for nested object also. And then you build it. So this gives you the partial object of this. So you can imagine you might want to do update. Let's say you have update. Let's update user. User ID. Then you could have something like merge or replace. You can basically just put like X here. Well, let's call this update human. If you want, you could just take this whole thing and put it here. So this can be quite handy. So you can skip the fields you don't want. And it's gonna work. So I think this will unlock a lot of potentials. So after this, tomorrow I'll try to implement the partial and omit utility functions. I'll probably open source a lot of all this stuff separately. When I'm done with this launch, I'll take some of the utilities I've written into a separate library, and yeah, I'll do that. Let's see. It's taking it's recompiling everything. So once I have that, and that would come in handy when we are doing some selections. So we are having our select statement and you want to select a few fields. I think that would be useful there. And someone requested that. Yeah, be handy. Okay, looks like first analyzer is done. Now let's see what type. Okay. So let's take that out then. How long have we been streaming now? Let's check. About an hour. Not bad. Not bad. Now it's recompiling everything. Just wait. Okay. Once this loads, we're gonna check it out, see at least if it generates the right code. It might not work yet. If we're missing some tokens, then I can check those later, make sure they work, push them. I'm actually thinking of the other stuff I was talking about, the pick and omit. Probably makes sense to implement those in a separate PR. So I will resist the temptation to include those in this PR, because this PR is already very huge, all of the factorings and a lot of new features. So I resist the urge to do those in this PR and just add some tests, do some manual testing, make sure, because I've changed quite a bit, so I need to make sure the existing tests and examples and basically all the crates work, and add some unit and integration tests for that. Then merge this PR. After merging this PR, we can do the pick and omit PR separately, and yeah, we can have like select partial also. See, okay, this just seems to be some issue. I'll still wait for this to compile to be done, and once I'm done with that, so maybe tomorrow we could get this PR ready. Add a bunch integration, a bunch of integration and tests. Then make sure update other stuff. Make sure everything passes and good. You criticize us, trying to make it better. The light is starting to. I don't know how dark this would be, because I've not been sleeping lately and it's late night. The light is starting to be a little bit too much for my eyes. Thank goodness for the not safe. I lost my computer. Okay, where does it keep compiling that? Okay. Yeah, here it's compiling. Oh, that's an object. Okay, mostly looks good to me. Let's try. Yeah, I think um, we are close to it. Let's see the implementation. Let's just confirm that the didn't work. I need to fix that trait. So first, pressure. So we got pressure, which links to this, which wraps this, and these are the implementation. And when you build it, it just returns the inner type. Yep, I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, I think this is a good place to stop. I'm supposed to go out soon, but I honestly feel like I need to take at least a nap, even if I'm gonna go out, because I've not been sleeping. I appreciate you guys for joining in this stream. We implement a partial updater, so you can do something like this when you're working with your ORM or query builder or something. You can update whatever field you want to update, right? You can skip any field you don't want to update, and you can do that also recursively. So with even embedded objects, you should be able to do the same thing. Again, thank you guys for joining the stream. I appreciate you, and I will see you guys again tomorrow. I'll be back on stream tomorrow to try to finish this PR before we go into implementing Pick and Omit, which I think other ROS projects can benefit from. Thanks to you guys. I appreciate you. I appreciate your support, and be wonderful, be cheerful, and be a code breeder. I appreciate you guys from everywhere streaming, and I will see you again tomorrow.